Our main character's life is a complete disaster. If he fails this time, he's done for literally dead. His skills are rock bottom, the competition's insane, and everyone's miles ahead of him. But there's one thing they don't know: he has a secret ability that maxes out a new skill every single day. Sounds overpowered, right? Not really, because all those skills are complete trash. Yet somehow, he's still aiming to become the world's most famous pop star. This time, our trash wakes up in a sketchy motel room feeling disoriented. Next thing he knows, he's about to piss himself. The ceiling looks all kinds of funky. This definitely isn't his room. Maybe he's somehow swapped bodies or something. Totally confused, he checks out his own beat-up face in the mirror. Instead of brushing it off, panic hits him hard. He freaks out over his own reflection, stumbles back, and ends up hitting himself while sweating buckets trying to figure out what's going on. He can't even recognize his own face. He flops down on the bed and finally manages to chill a bit. For someone who's been grinding for a civil service exam, stress should be nothing new. That loser was jobless even in his past life. He tries to stay calm and figure things out. There's an empty pill bottle and a suicide note next to it. The original owner of this body ended things. He finds a wallet, and inside is an ID with the name Park Moonde on it. He also realizes he looks younger. He's 23, but he appears like a high school kid. He seems a bit shy and timid, but he knows he can't do anything to help the original owner, so he decides to look for his own body first. If they switch bodies, his original self should have woken up by now. He remembers passing out after a night of drinking and figures his body must still be where he left it. Just when he thinks being hungover in this summer heat feels like torture, he notices it's snowing outside. Confused, he remembers it was July when he got wasted and fell asleep. It's hard for him to grasp why it's winter outside. He starts to wonder if this whole thing is more than just a body swap. Maybe he's not even alive anymore. Next thing he knows, some girl drops off a ham and cheese ramen for him. That's when it hits him. He's chowing down on ramen at an internet cafe next to a motel. It doesn't take long for him to chill out. Even though the switch in seasons is a shock, it's wild to think that he's actually 3 years back in time. Around now, he was just getting serious about studying. But in this reality, his original self is nowhere to be found. No social media accounts, no university profiles, and even his old phone doesn't exist. So yeah, this isn't just some typical body swap. Honestly, he doesn't have many regrets about his old life since he lost his parents in a car accident when he was in middle school. Plus, he ditched his friends to go after a civil service job, so being forgotten wouldn't be surprising. He's still trying to figure out what to do next. He starts checking out the idol trends from this time and thinks it's a bit cliche, like one of those fantasy stories where someone suddenly swaps bodies and ends up in the past. He wonders if he's in some alternate dimension that's kinda like his original timeline. Maybe this is what people mean by shounen novels. If he's onto something, he wants to check out the status window, but then some idiot nearby is trash-talking his teammates, calling them useless for opening a status window instead of fighting, and it's just plain embarrassing. He starts banging his head, feeling like an idiot for thinking something cool would show up. But then out of nowhere, he spots something that grabs his attention. That annoying Discord mod decides he's going to be a hero and carry his teammates, but he gets totally freaked out when our guy yells like a little kid in a panic. He's sweating buckets from what he sees. There's actually a legit pop-up window right in front of him. Instead of the usual strength or agility stats, though, he's staring at numbers for singing, dancing, and looks. It's way off from what he expected. Then it hits him. It must be idol stats. Looks like it's telling him he needs to become one. Out of the blue, an emergency quest pops up. He's faced with a wild mission: debut or die. If he doesn't manage to debut as an idol in time, he's a goner. He can't wrap his head around it. He freezes while some random girl asks if he's good, but then he bolts outside. There's no way he wants to face a lame death, just because he can't make it as an idol. In his past life, idols were wild and fans were totally obsessed with them. He used to snap pics of these girls just as part of the grind to make some cash. While in college, he earned his keep taking photos of idols for a fan site, diving into all the craziness that came with it. He was quick with his work and got a lot of love from his clients, but dealing with the chaotic crowds really wore him out. At one point, while snapping away, he found himself getting super into it. Now, he's pouring all of his effort into practicing his singing. He's kinda lost about what he's doing, though. Glancing at the status window, he wonders if this is even important in action genres. It's like a stats sheet showing both his and his opponent's skills. His level actually goes up when he sings. Checking out what he needs to do, he starts sweating because it looks like there's a ton on his plate. With no clear directions, he's gotta start from scratch. But he can use the points he's earned, so he opens up the status window and decides to throw a point into his vocals. It bumps up from a C to a C positive, so he gets back to practicing his singing. After picking a song, he jumps right in and starts singing and notices his voice sounds way cleaner than before. He also racks up 80 points, and that really hits him. This whole situation is for real, not some kind of joke. He still can't figure out what's going on, but he definitely doesn't want to kick the bucket. With 365 days left, he knows it's time to make his debut. Around this time, there's this idol survival show blowing up called Idol INC, gathering a ton of participants. Season 2 ended up being a complete disaster, and some girls are left wondering if the network actually made any cash off it. Meanwhile, he's getting groomed at a salon. The hairstylist keeps the sides pretty long. When he sees his new look, he realizes this style finally suits him. His gloomy eyes seem to brighten up too, thanks to actually eating and sleeping well. He feels a bit bad for spending Moonday's money right now, though. He figures he'll just pay it back with a donation or something. It's hard to believe, but the original owner was so bummed out that he chose to end his life on his birthday. He steps outside, hoping the original owner found peace. There's a lot on his plate. Meanwhile, at TNT headquarters, some guy is struggling to find talent and staff, totally stumped about what to do next. One of the minions chimes in, saying it's all because Season 2 flopped, and the guy asks if he's reached out to local classes and businesses. After making some calls and packing, they've got a few contestants lined up, barely scraping by. That guy wonders if they should extend the recruitment period and turns to Soren for advice, but she bolts right after lunch, disappearing on him again. On the flip side, while Soren is wandering around, she hears someone singing that catches her ear. Other folks are enjoying it too, so she stops to listen until the guy finishes the song. She then approaches the singer, who turns out to be Moonday, and asks if they can chat for a minute. Meanwhile, he's curious about who she is, but she reassures him she's not a weirdo. She hands him her business card and says she thought his singing was pretty impressive. When she asks his name, that's when he realizes she took the bait. Not too long ago, there was this quirky survival show that stood out from the bunch by treating its contestants like stocks, watching them rise, fall, or crash. After a successful first season, the producers got a bit too confident and jumped into a second season without much thought, which led to a total flop and the show getting canceled. A few months later, the same producer popped back up claiming it was a fresh start, but it was really just the third season of that same show. Surprisingly, it ended up being a huge hit and turned into a big deal. For Moonday, who knows what's coming next and keeps an eye on Idol Incorporated while doing his data brokering job, this revival is a perfect chance to make his debut. The only problem? The application period closed a week ago. Sitting quietly, he fiddles with a business card of a woman whose confident grin still gets to him. His hunch about Idol Incorporated scouting new talent in karaoke bars ends up being spot on. Word on the street is that whenever they're short on trainees, the producers just stroll around the booths looking for anyone with that little spark of talent. He figured it'd take longer, but here they are, way faster and bolder than he thought. After countless late nights working on his vocals and leveling up to a solid B, he's feeling ready. He takes the card with a chill look, hiding how hyped he is. The woman seems convinced he's got that special mix of charm and stage presence. She's even pushing him to come to a nearby broadcasting station to film some test clips. He's a little unsure, but she keeps insisting, calling it a small adventure. He keeps his face neutral while he weighs his options. After a moment, he decides there's no downside to taking a shot at it. The second he agrees, his system lights up. His stats show level 2, vocals at B-, visuals at C, and he's got no limits for ability status. A little alert pops up, debut or die. Later that night, he flops down on his sofa, thinking the day was pretty productive, even if the test shoot felt kind of meh. But it keeps popping back into his mind, especially the producer's reaction when he said he has no parents. She probably thinks he's crafting a dramatic backstory to get sympathy. To her, he's just a handy replacement for someone else, but he doesn't care. He just needs to get his name on that list. The tough part hits when he finds out they'll officially bring him on in 10 days and he's snagged the last spot. 10 days to prep for a broadcast would crush a regular person, and even he's feeling the heat. But there's no choice. As he leans back, sipping his drink and staring at the ceiling, he knows he has to push even harder. If survival's the name of the game, there's no room for doubt. 10 days later, in T1's studio, the filming kicks off. The first challenge is a solo evaluation where Idol Incorporated gives each trainee a temporary rank. Sitting among a bunch of contestants, he tries to calm himself, knowing that first impressions are everything. Most of the 77 participants look painfully young, and for the first time, he really feels the weight of his age. A kid walks up and asks if he's here alone. He looks up and realizes the kid barely looks like he's out of middle school, so he nods. The kid's excitement is kind of surprising when he says he's also alone. He asks how old he is, and he says he's 20, but he thinks to himself that he's actually 9 years older. When the kid keeps asking about his agency, he admits he doesn't have one. The kid's enthusiasm drops and he makes an excuse to leave. Watching him go, he sighs, seeing the kid lose interest as soon as he finds out there's no agency behind him. This place can be harsh. The tension starts to build up until a staff member shows up, calling everyone to line up. They all stand and move forward in order. He follows, not sure if it's finally his turn. One by one, contestants step up for their evaluation, all getting ranked. Over to the side, the producer watches with a furrowed brow. The talent pool is pretty thin. Most kids are just average, honestly. She knows that turning someone who's not really skilled into a star is almost impossible. No amount of clever editing or storytelling can replace raw talent that keeps viewers hooked. With a sigh, she calls in the next group, glancing at the boy walking through the door. She thinks he's just another average contestant. After all, she scouted him barely 10 days ago. She half wonders if he'll be terrible, but hopes his performance might at least get people talking about the show. When he steps up and introduces himself, he just gives his name and says he's in their care. The producer pauses, waiting for him to elaborate. He stands there quietly, making things awkward. His bluntness sets off a flurry of comments online. People can't decide if he's confident, clueless, or just plain weird. She flits through his application, practically empty, and signals him to start. But as soon as he lifts the microphone and starts singing, the vibe changes completely. Every producer at the panel freezes, caught off guard by the strength in his voice. His tone is clean, his control is sharp, and even the audience leans in intrigued. One producer stares in shock, recognizing the song as one that's tricky with an irregular beat and a complex melody. But he doesn't stumble, hitting every change perfectly. The woman who scouted him is the most shocked of all. She remembers his karaoke performance being nowhere near this level. If he had sung like this before, she would have rushed him straight into an interview. Now, as she watches him deliver a song that's both confusing and amazing, she can't wrap her head around it. It feels unreal, like he's transformed into someone completely different. The performance isn't just luck, it's the result of constant preparation. For days, he's been practicing nonstop, working on his voice until it's just right. He puts in every bit of effort to strengthen his vocals, knowing that talent is what really grabs people's attention. With so few idols able to take the main vocalist spot, he knows he has to nail it if he wants a shot at debuting. His plan is simple: establish himself through his voice first and then build from there. Aware of his weaknesses, he decides to skip the dance routine, knowing that even a small mistake could blow his chances. But he's also aware that people will be curious about his dancing, so he makes sure to clean up anything that doesn't meet idol standards. Now, as he stands on stage, his performance leaves the room in complete silence. Even the producer looks surprised, unsure why he chose such an unusual song. It's a track that T-Holic used to perform, a group that was huge in their time but has faded away now. Originally a B-side from a solo album by one of its members, the song used to promote the title track and hit second on the charts. Although it's becoming popular again, it still feels like a throwback, a bold choice for this moment. It's not a song most people would pick for an audition. The producer keeps staring at him, shocked that he made such a bold choice without any experience in the industry. She can't believe a rookie would take such a risk. When he wraps up his song, he just thanks the judges, leaving them all impressed. One of the female judges, slightly flustered, compliments him and asks if he realizes how good he is. He downplays it, saying he just practiced hard, but another judge jumps in, claiming he must have some natural talent. The first judge goes on about how refreshing his tone is, how clear his pronunciation is, and how he can sing any style without awkward quirks. Surprised, they ask if he's had any lessons. He says nope. The woman who questioned him looks stunned but moves on, happy that the others are into him. Then a younger judge pikes up, saying she wants to see him dance since his performance had little choreography. He freezes. Dancing is his biggest fear. He recognizes her as a former idol he once helped out by getting her attention through a fan cam, but this situation feels a lot less friendly. He knows he has to go along with it. So he signals a staff member and whispers something that catches the staff off guard, then goes back to his spot. Knowing it's a risky move, he puts down the microphone, shocking the judges, and cues the music. When the dance finishes, the show takes a 30-minute break before getting back on track. Later, he's sitting in the contestants' area, ranked 17th, which people call the president's chair. He knows he didn't nail the performance, but he didn't totally bomb it either. He's expecting to drop a few spots, but feels pretty good about the reviews. Next to him, another contestant points at him with a grin, saying he's a good singer. He just sits quietly, knowing that he's only getting started. He glances at the guy beside him, realizing they're probably around the same age as the original owner of this body. He thanks him for the compliment, but the guy just keeps grinning and says he's nothing compared to his dance, which makes him feel a bit down. The boy laughs, mentioning that he never thought he'd get to hear that song live since it's been around for 10 years and basically got banned during exam season. The memory of his own dance rushes back like a cringy highlight reel. It starts with an awkward star pose and then turns into an overly peppy routine that makes him look like a confused backup dancer from a girl group. The judges were practically red from laughing, with one nearly spilling his drink from how hard he was crying. Looking back, he wonders if it was all pointless. Right now, his dance skills rank about as high as a gym class routine. Still, he tells himself he gave it his best shot, and the boy compliments him again, calling him talented and generous. The kid introduces himself as Lee Sejin, saying they'll probably meet up often and hoping they get along. He freezes at the name. He recognizes it. When he was studying for the civil service exam, he remembers seeing Lee Sejin on the 9 o'clock news, and not for anything good. Deciding to keep his distance, he stays quiet. After the 30-minute break, the next contestant steps up to the stage and instantly grabs everyone's attention. Even the judges look impressed. This guy's looks could probably end careers. He's stunned, thinking that with a face like that, his market value must be through the roof. But when he sees the name tag that reads Sion, he frowns. No one by that name ever made it to the finals. He sighs, figuring that someone who can't debut with that level of good looks must seriously lack talent. A quick look at Seon's stats confirms it. Everything besides looks is stuck in the D and F zone. As Seon walks to the center looking stiff and nervous, his system window flickers, showing Seon's stats more clearly. The layout is fancier than expected, and he realizes that, on paper, this dude could totally end up in the top 10. But then he notices letters in parentheses beside the stats, probably skill caps, and wonders if that means Seon has untapped potential. If that's the case, the guy's future could be super bright. Yet the real shock hits when he sees Seon's biggest issue: serious lack of self-confidence. With a face that flawless, it feels like a cruel cosmic joke. Moondy can't help but feel confused about how someone so good-looking and talented can be so unsure of himself. When the judges ask the new contestant to introduce himself, he stumbles through a shaky hello. Seon Haeyeon, only 20, is clearly nervous as he looks at his reflection on the big screen, struggling to share that his thing is dancing. The judges share wordy glances and kindly tell him not to cry. As Moondy watches, he starts to realize that this isn't just nerves. Seon seems to have a speech disorder, and it's obvious he knows it. Then a warning pops up on Seon's status window. His self-esteem is way too low, and all his stats drop by a couple of levels. Moondy is stunned that just feeling low can affect his abilities like that, and wonders how he can even see this window in his mind. Judge Youngren gently asks if Seon has trouble talking, and he manages to explain with a shaky voice that he had an accident as a kid that made it hard for him to communicate. He nods when she says it must have been tough to make friends since people often get him wrong. The atmosphere in the room gets heavy with sympathy, and Moondy stays chill, keeping a neutral expression, knowing that reacting would only make things feel awkward. When Seon finally performs, his dancing is okay, but it doesn't quite measure up to what his actual talent seems to hint at, landing him at 18th place. The judges kindly encourage him, saying he can do better next time. Moondy claps, feeling a weird mix of feelings about being ranked higher than someone like Seon. As the next contestant walks in, he glances over at Seon sitting next to him, wondering whether he should say something, but he knows Seon probably won't start talking either. Too worn out to care, he just gives him a quick look, making Seon flinch in surprise. Seon bows politely before sitting back, and Moondy turns his attention back to his thoughts, noticing that there are still way too many people waiting for their turn. 3 of the evaluations seem to drag on forever, with over 70 performances blending together until they finally wrapped up. When the results came out, everyone was told to head to their assigned dorms. Moondy ended up in 22nd place, not great, but not a shock either. He figured he'd be pushed back a bit, and with the stiff competition, managing to hold his spot felt like a small win. The judges instructed everyone to get on their assigned rides based on their ranks. The top contestants, those in the 1st to 10th spots, got to ride in fancy limousines, while those ranked 11th to 25th, including him, had to take the premium buses. Watching the shiny black limos roll out, he couldn't help but feel the clear divide in rankings. The lower-ranked trainees were buzzing with excitement, gathering around the limos. He spotted a few familiar faces up in the top ranks: Chae Yujin with his striking red hair and Kim Rae-bain by his side, both from the same high-profile agency and around his age. Yujin, sitting pretty at first place, exuded that confident vibe of someone who's used to the limelight. Right behind them was Ryu Chung-woo, 2 years older and a former national archery star, who snagged a 9th place spot. Moondy vaguely recalled that Chung-woo had once won a group medal before stepping back to chase his idle dreams. A staff member called for everyone to take their seats, and as the bus engine roared to life, he settled in, quietly calculating his next move. If he wanted a better shot at debuting, sticking close to Seon seemed like the way to go. Still, he couldn't shake off the feeling of it all being a bit ridiculous. At his age, trying to navigate idol politics was just exhausting. When he looks over, he's surprised to see Seon sitting right next to him. He has no idea how that happened, but figures it's not the worst thing. At least it's not Sejin, who never shuts up. Letting out a quiet sigh of relief, he leans back in his seat, happy that Seon won't start chatting, gets ready for some peace and quiet on the ride. It's only a 10-minute walk to the dorms, but the production team insists on taking a longer, scenic route, probably just to get some extra footage for the show. He watches the lower-ranked contestants walking along. They seem way too cheerful, laughing and pretending that they're having a good time for the cameras. To him, it all feels a bit over the top, almost cringy considering how staged it is. When they finally get to the dorms, he's pleasantly surprised to find out that, since he's ranked lower and they're grouped in 5s by placement, he's in a different room from Sejin, who's in 20th place. That alone feels like a small win and the only real perk of being 22nd. As he steps into the room, he sees 5 beds and drops his bag on one, contemplating if he should just claim it. Seon, standing next to him, quietly puts his bag on the top bunk above his. A bit confused, he moves to another spot, only to notice Seon trailing him again, all the way to the group gathering. Now he's starting to feel a bit uneasy. Why is this guy following him like a lost puppy? Maybe he thinks he's safe or just some normal dude? Whatever the reason, he decides not to dwell on it. Seon isn't bothering him yet, so it's cool. Still, he makes a mental note to keep some distance. If they end up together too often, any argument will totally make him look like the bad guy. Out of nowhere, Seon pulls a toffee from his pocket and shyly offers it, asking if he wants some chocolate. He's a bit caught off guard but accepts it, half wondering if this small act of kindness just messed up his chances of keeping space between them. Before long, all the contestants are gathered in the common room and a staff member greets them with a warm welcome, asking how the first evaluation went. He announces that training will kick off now, but first, they're going to reveal the temporary rankings based on the initial round. Those rankings are going to decide the customized classes, and performances will affect the rankings in real time. The room buzzes with murmurs and tension as they call out the first name. Yoojin, still holding on to first place, confidently steps forward. Watching from the back, he wonders if this is a good time to check his status window. As he opens it, the familiar blue glow pops up. He's hit level 5. A system message flashes in front of him. Successful performance detected. Most people were impressed. Please select a general ability. He blinks a bit stunned. Whatever this weird system is, it's clearly not done with him yet. Moondy sighed as he stared at the screen, realizing something weird was popping up again. Just when he thought he was getting used to the strange status window, a new feature showed up, making him click on the Choose a General Ability option, feeling both curious and a bit hesitant. Suddenly, a flash of blue light hit his face and a spinning roulette wheel appeared, revealing he had gained an ability called Sleep is for the Dead. At first he was confused, but then he figured out this ability meant he wouldn't feel tired, even without any rest. It slowly began to pique his interest as he realized the system actually rewarded hard work and growth. When he checked his status window, he saw that points added up through achievements and that tidying up his hair had slightly improved his visuals, proving that personal improvement played into his stats. His dance and charisma scores had also gone up after his first performance, which felt like a real confirmation that his progress mirrored actual growth. When the staff called him to the stage, he stepped up to grab his badge and noticed his vocal score was the highest, while his dance score was the lowest. Looking at the other contestants, he spotted a few without badges, often labeled as F-rank online. While he thought starting from the bottom could have its perks, he felt for them and knew how discouraging it must be. Then his gaze landed on Lee Sejin, a nervous contestant he recognized from a blockbuster movie 10 years ago. Sejin had faded from the spotlight, and Moondig guessed he was probably here for a second shot rather than a debut. But then a darker thought crossed his mind. There was also a guy named Lee Sejin who had gotten arrested for drug dealing. The name coincidence felt too weird, making him wonder if it was just luck or something deeper. Shaking that thought off, he noticed the taller trainees seemed to have a better shot at debuting, which added to his anxiety. Soon the staff's voice cut through the buzz, announcing that the badge distribution by grades had wrapped up, and that the new Idol theme song for the season was about to be revealed. The title flashed on the big screen. It's me. As the video played, showing the original performance, the room fell silent in amazement. Mooney recognized it instantly. The song had been such a hit that it played non-stop for months. Even when he was just an engineering student, he memorized the main choreography. Confident that this familiarity would give him an edge, he decided to focus on nailing the dance and memorizing the lyrics. As the demo keeps going, Moonday starts to lose his confidence. The choreography got switched up. The new version has some tricky footwork during the chorus that he can barely keep up with. The smooth, catchy moves he thought he remembered are just a cover. The real challenge is in the complicated steps hiding underneath. Panic spreads among the other contestants as they realize how tough it is, with some saying they might not nail it even if they had a month to practice instead of just 10 days. Many are grumbling that the routine seems like it's meant only for experienced dancers. When night rolls around, Moondy kicks in his ability Sleep is for the Dead, deciding to practice all night without a break. Hours go by as he keeps repeating the choreography, pushing his limits until he starts feeling how heavy his body is. He notices he's put on some weight lately and figures he should start tracking his diet and calorie intake. Just as he gets ready to dive back into practice, dizziness hits him and he collapses on the floor, holding his stomach, feeling super hungry. That's when it clicks for him. The side effect of his ability isn't just tiredness, it's this constant hunger from not letting his body rest. As he catches his breath, a shadow falls over him and a fellow contestant kneels down beside him, offering a piece of toffee. When he looks up, he sees it's Seon, who quietly asks if Moonday wants something to eat. Moonday reaches out with a shaky hand to take the toffee, thanking Seon for the sweet gesture. Seon smiles and says he has more if Moonday wants another. While unwrapping the chocolate, Moonday glances at Seon and suddenly asks how old he is. The question catches Seon off guard and he hesitates before asking what Moonday means. Moonday explains that he's 20 and just wants to know Seon's age too. When Steven says he's the same age, Moonday nods and suggests they should probably talk casually from now on since they're peers. But then he quickly changes his mind, thinking it might be better to just keep it informal since they'll be seeing each other a lot. Still, the moment feels a bit awkward. Chatting so easily with someone his age reminds him that he's really young, even if it feels a bit strange to acknowledge. The next day, things in the practice room go from friendly to hectic as the contestants dive into some serious training under the watchful eye of their instructor. He's constantly shouting for them to keep repeating the choreography, and you can tell his patience is wearing thin every time someone messes up. When Moonday makes a big slip, the instructor points him out and tells him to perform solo. As Moonday starts dancing, the instructor lets out a big sigh, clearly not impressed. He tells Moonday straight up that if he keeps dancing like that, he won't stand a chance in the next evaluation and needs to pull it together. Moonday, feeling embarrassed, bows his head and says sorry. The instructor mutters, still frowning, that maybe he was too easy on Moonday with his first grade. Meanwhile, in another room, the judges get settled for the upcoming evaluations. The vibe changes completely when Youngrin walks in looking sharp in a well-fitted suit that grabs everyone's attention. With her confident walk and calm expression, she seems more like a company exec than a performer. One of the judges, half-joking, asks if she's going for an interviewer vibe today. She just smiles and says she is, since it's an important day. 10 minutes later, all the contestants are sitting quietly in the waiting room, trying to stay calm as the staff tells them to not move. One of the staff members confirms over the walkie-talkie that everyone is in, and that the assignment will start soon. Seon's heart is racing, and he's breathing kind of unevenly as the tension in the room builds. Across from him, Moonday is staring at the ceiling, or at least where the ceiling should be, wondering why this place looks more like a temporary set than an actual studio. Suddenly, the staff makes an announcement. It's time for the ranking evaluation to kick off. A loud mechanical sound fills the air as the walls start to rise, revealing the judges' panel. Gasps fill the room as a legendary senior trainer pops up next to the judges, totally surprising everyone. With a calm smile, he greets them and asks if they're shocked by the setup. The staff, sounding upbeat, explains that this season is shaking things up with a new twist, the open group evaluation. From now on, contestants singing the same song will be both the audience and judges for each other. The trainees exchange wide-eyed looks. Last season was all about individual evaluations, so this is a complete game changer. The staff continues, saying that the final rankings will totally depend on this open evaluation format, and they'll go in reverse order, starting with the lowest-ranked contestant. The room gets tense as the first name called is Sung-koo. His eyes go big with panic. He clearly wasn't ready to go first. Before anyone can react, the staff announces that the evaluation has officially begun, and all eyes snap to him as he freezes. Moonday watches silently, realizing that the production team is using Sung-koo as a sort of test subject, like a psychological tactic to rattle everyone else. Starting with the lowest rank in front of the group is a harsh but smart move to shake their confidence. Sung-koo stutters an apology and says he can't remember the choreography. Moonday sees his composure slipping, and while he keeps a straight face, he gets what's going down. The producers are cranking up the tension, creating drama from stress and failure, a brutal but clever way to make the show more engaging. Next up is Kim Yum-do, ranked 76, but his performance is pretty much the same, tense, shaky, and forgettable. Moonday is still watching quietly, seeing that the show is setting up a narrative, waiting for a standout trainee to break through the sea of forgettable acts and become the star of the season. When Lee Sejin steps up, you can see he's putting in a lot of effort despite being worn out. His stage presence isn't flawless, but he gets through the full routine and lyrics without messing up. The judges notice that even though he's not super polished, his commitment is impressive. Moonday agrees. After a bunch of lackluster performances, Sejin's focus really makes him shine. But when Sejin humbly says he'll work harder, Moonday feels like dedication alone might not be what the production crew is after. He quietly adds Sejin to his mental list of contestants to keep an eye on. The next stages kind of blend together, mediocre performances and bored judges just waiting for something exciting. When Steven takes the stage, his singing and dancing are okay, but his lack of confidence really dulls his vibe. Then it's Lily's turn. As he walks to the stage, he already knows the judges want strong vocals and not-so-great dance moves. After just 10 days of training, he's not expecting much, just hoping to refine what he already has. But the second the music starts, he moves like it's second nature. His steps flow nicely, and his footwork is sharp and on point. The judges are left staring in disbelief. Even his trainer, who was about ready to give up on him just 2 days ago, can't hide his shock. Moonday keeps singing effortlessly, his movements steady and natural, and even Simon looks impressed. One of the female judges laughs in delight, saying someone this talented is going to go far, while his trainer just whispers in amazement that such progress shouldn't be possible in only a few days. Just 2 days ago, Moonday struggled with a basic turn, and now he's dancing like a totally different person. What no one realizes is that Moonday used his save evolution points to boost his dance stack from D to C, a 3-level jump that transformed his performance. His moves might not be perfect, but the growth is clear, and it's enough to see him through the first elimination round. The trainer watches Lily perform, genuinely blown away by the clarity of his high notes and how well he moves now. After 10 grueling days of tough corrections and failed attempts, watching him perform so confidently feels surreal. He can't figure this trainee out. Someone who struggled so much is now nailing both strong vocals and smooth dance moves with ease. The improvement is incredible, and even the trainer has to admit it's impressive. As the music fades, Moonday bends slightly, out of breath but still managing a polite smile as he thanks the judges for their feedback. Just then, his trainer calls out to him, looking serious but with a proud grin. With a tone that's both firm and warm, he tells him he did a great job. For a moment, Mundi just stands there, surprised by the unexpected compliment. Then a smile creeps onto his face as he realizes his story arc has reached its perfect ending for this stage. The brown-haired judge looks pretty impressed, and just by her expression, Mundi knows his plan worked. She tells him she's proud of how much he's grown and that she really enjoys watching him perform, adding that there's nothing to critique this time. Another judge chimes in, saying his hard work really shows and that he must have practiced like crazy to get to this level. Mundi breathes a sigh of relief, realizing he's dodged elimination for now. His trainer, still a bit confused, asks what he did in the last 2 days to improve so much when dancing used to be a struggle for him. Prepared for the question, Mundi coolly says he got some help from a friend. When the trainer asks who it was, he casually brings up Seon's name, making Seon sit up straight in surprise among the other contestants. It's the perfect distraction, though Mundi feels a touch guilty since Seon really did help him with practice. He mentions that his friend was patient and super supportive, knowing it sounds heartfelt and innocent enough to explain his sudden improvement. Damgren also gives him some warm praise, telling him to relax a bit during performances, and he bows respectfully in thanks. As his turn wraps up and the next contestant gets ready, he can't help but smile. His plan worked, he seems sincere, and the feedback is all positive. When the staff hands out boxes for rank announcements, he opens his to find the letter C for dance staring back at him. Even with his progress, his rank hasn't changed. Before he can even process it, Seon rushes over, grinning and saying he got platinum, and thanks Mundi for his help. Lee Sejin even comes over to congratulate Seon, acting all buddy-buddy, which leaves Mundi confused since they barely said more than hi to each other until now. He doesn't even look at Seon and Lee Sejin chatting next to him, still trying to figure out how they suddenly became so comfortable with each other. Lee Sejin laughs, teasing that Mundi must be too moved to speak, but honestly he just feels conflicted. He can't wrap his head around how Seon managed to score platinum, but thinking back on the hectic evaluation, it starts to make sense. A lot of lower-ranked contestants lost their cool under pressure, and compared to them, Seon's performance really did shine. Pinning the badge to his chest, Mundi figures that the extra practice from the sleep is for the dead sessions must have helped too. Still, part of him wishes he'd gotten gold instead, since he's the only platinum trainee ranked in the 20s. That's going to make him stand out more and attract unwanted attention, which makes him uneasy. He forces himself to stay calm and reminds himself to keep a positive outlook. As long as he debuts within a year and avoids any bad vibes, everything will be just fine. From now on, he decides to play it safe and avoid giving anyone a chance to criticize him. He's set on climbing the ranks quickly, so he's focusing all his energy on singing and dancing while steering clear of any unnecessary attention for the time being. Soon enough, rehearsal for It's Me kicks off, and a guy with glasses steps on stage, introducing himself as the main PD of the show. He spills the details about recording the theme song and lays out the schedule. First a dry rehearsal, then a costume change, followed by a camera rehearsal. The Platinum group gets an extra solo camera run since their clips will be shown separately, and the full performance is set to premiere next Friday on Music Night, marking their public debut. Excited cheers fill the room. Standing in the crowd, Mundi notices that the best dancers are up front while he's stuck a bit behind the gold-ranked trainees. Sejin leans over and asks if he feels even a little disappointed. Mundi keeps his cool and says he's not. Watching Sejin, who landed in silver, he thinks the guy might end up having a solid growth story leading to a debut. Nearby, a chatty contestant jokes that he'd be crushed if he were in Lily's position, and Mundi casually agrees, saying it makes sense for him. The guy teases Mundi about wanting more camera time, but he brushes it off, claiming it's just because he's good at dancing. The guy grins and offers to help him stretch, saying he's great at neck massages, but Mundi politely declines with a small smile. Suddenly, Yujin approaches Lily, asking out of nowhere if he can't dance. Mundi gets frozen in surprise, caught off guard by the sudden question, especially with the mix on and cameras rolling. Yujin's tone isn't aggressive, but the timing confuses him. As he looks closer, it clicks, he knows that face. Yujin is the dude who ranked first during the opening evaluations and stayed on top throughout the whole show, eventually winning the season. Realizing how powerful Yujin is and how tight he probably is with the production team, Mundi figures it's best to stay on his good side. Keeping it cool, he asks if Yujin missed his earlier performance. Yujin calmly replies that he didn't because he was too busy prepping for his own stage. Mundi smiles politely and tells him to judge better next time, and Yujin nods in agreement. Sejin leans in and whispers that Yujin's way of talking sounds unique, probably because he's from overseas, and Mundi quietly agrees. Right then, the staff announces that rehearsals are starting and the vibe shifts instantly. Mundi checks the time and sees it's already 6 p.m. with the actual recording starting at 4 o'clock. He sighs internally, realizing this is the beginning of the inevitable struggle. Meanwhile, online buzz is going crazy. Their group performance is blowing up on the trending charts, and fans are flooding the comment sections with excitement. In the studio, Youngrin is proudly watching the screen but suddenly gets serious, addressing the audience. She reminds them about how the last season was abruptly cancelled, her tone turning sharp yet emotional. Then, with passionate conviction, she declares they owe the viewers an apology for that failure and promises to make things right this time. The audience is left stunned, confused about her sudden intensity and what she really means or what's about to happen next. Next, he's in this uniform and looks pretty confused when someone asks if he digs it. He actually does, since it mixes a student uniform with a suit, plus they can style it in different ways. Some minions jump in all casual, saying they're into it too, looking super pumped in their outfits like they're gearing up for something big. They even ask the crowd what they think of their outfits, but honestly, he feels totally squished and can't stand that they all look like they belong to the same all-guy school because of their matching clothes. He's actually just asleep and everything that happened was just a dream. He's feeling really dizzy. After their first recording, they get a week off, but he ends up being stuck in bed for 4 days because he's sick. Then there's a cut to a show host who's super pumped, asking the audience how they felt about Solu's performance. Everyone's hyped and raving about their fresh stage presence. He catches all of this while trying to exercise. He never realized he passed out right after the recording wrapped up, so now he's determined to handle this busy schedule better. He knows he has to build up his endurance. He grabs his phone to check something and sees that it's about to happen. And then he spots a renewal offer. He scrolls through the chat where everyone's talking about stocks and lets out a sigh of relief. It's nice to see that people are still engaged and chatting about it. He can't help but wonder if the folks trash-talking it now will actually own any stock by mid-season. Knowing from Season 3 that things turn out well, he can feel the excitement bubbling up again. When Idol Incorporated pops up on TV, they start talking about their shareholders and even call them out directly. He starts to wonder if they'll actually be serious this time considering how harshly they were critiqued before. The head of Idol Incorporated genuinely apologizes, saying that to avoid messing up again, the audience now has full say. They can decide everything from who's in the group to how many members there are and even how they combine them. Shareholders can even kick out the members they don't like. He feels a bit lost because now the whole future of the company depends on the shareholders. It's hard to believe this is actually happening. This is how Idol Incorporated is renewing and getting back in the game. Later that night, as he's about to crash, he stays up to check out the reactions to the first performance. He checks out this news article saying Idol Incorporated. He glances at one of the contestants and kicks himself for not focusing more on his looks first. He knows that better visuals mean more media buzz, and since he just has average looks, he feels like he's got no shot. People are going wild over some contestants, and while it seems like everyone's got their opinions, the community forums are actually pretty critical of the show. It's kind of wild to see someone already put together a ranking chart. He scrolls through and notices a post about the Platinum ranking force. He sees familiar names like Kim and Changwoo. Then he spots his name at 6th place. Even though he wasn't on camera much, people are still calling him cute.
Some are questioning how he even made it to Platinum, and others say he's not exactly super handsome. It's a weird feeling for him. He's never really experienced anyone spending time and money just because they like someone. He figures it's probably because he never took care of himself in his past life, let alone invest in anything. He's just sitting there, feeling a bit weird about all the attention he's getting. Then he starts to zone out, thinking about how he can step up his game next time. He decides to dish out his stats first, but then gets thrown off when a status window pops up, saying he's gained fame after impressing 1,000 people. Now he has to choose a general ability, and he can't believe there are rewards for this stuff too. He's not expecting much, but he's crossing his fingers for something that has to do with looks or charm. When the roulette finally stops, he ends up winning a silver rank hero ability. He feels pretty good thinking it's tied to his looks. It's a C rank ability that makes his words grab the audience's attention, and it's passive, so it'll just be there. He can't help but wonder why today feels so exciting. Then someone announces that Idol Inc. is back and asks if the contestants had a good rest last week and what they thought about their first performance on air. Lee Sejin looks surprised to see him.
For the first round of Idol ANC, the guy announces to all contestants to come out and pick a ball from the box. On the other side, Sejin just can't shake off what he is seeing, that our guy has actually got a really amazing glow up. He keeps blinking for a bit, kind of wondering if his eyes are playing tricks on him or something. He starts to think maybe it's because it's been a week since they last saw each other, and you know, time sometimes changes how a person looks. Our guy looks very different now, almost like there's a new aura around him. Sejin thinks his face is literally shining, and it kind of feels like he has gotten a bit more handsome or maybe just more confident. But then he notices something weird. He spots An Hyeon standing behind him and wonders for a second if that's the reason. Then he ends up convincing himself that it's probably just because An Hyeon is handsome. Meanwhile, he stays totally confused and keeps stealing glances as if trying to make sense of what's happening. Next up, it's finally time for our guy to choose his ball. Sejin keeps pressing against him and nudging him again and again, and that kind of irritates him a lot. He rolls his eyes a bit, thinking how Sejin always acts like that. He also realizes that Sejin is actually quite sharp, which somehow makes it both funny and annoying at the same time. Our guy thinks that Sejin was partially right about everything, and he ends up getting number 12, which feels quite good honestly. Last night, when he got that ability, he was definitely taken aback. He thinks it's not a bad skill at all, and once it's activated, it will totally work great on stage. He even earns a point from today's broadcast, which adds a bit to his confidence. So he puts that into the visual since he thinks it's really time to climb over the walls and start ranking up properly. All the contestants now have their balls, and in front of them are monitors showing the names of several K-pop agencies. It looks kind of serious, like a moment before some huge reveal. Soon they will stand in front of the monitor that matches the number on their ball. There can only be 14 people at most for one agency, and if that limit gets exceeded, the higher-ranked contestants are allowed to push out lower-ranked ones to get into the team. It's a bit cruel, kind of like a survival game. As expected, our guy has to quickly cut Sejin off before he gets in the way. Meanwhile, Sejin, of course, keeps acting clingy and asks if he can't push him out, but our guy refuses with no hesitation at all. Sejin, noticing that he's at number 12, asks which agency he's planning to go for. He wonders if he'll pick one known for strong vocals or one with a lot of hit songs. But our guy decides that he'll choose based on the team members instead. He thinks all the agencies here are already super famous and have a ton of hit songs anyway, but what really matters are the people he'll be working with. That kind of surprises Sejin because it's not something he expected. Our guy knows that since he's one of the first to pick, he won't have many to compare with. So far, no one from the debut group has chosen. When it's finally his turn, he steps forward confidently, picks the team with the most high-ranked contestants, which turns out to be Lady. Two guys get really hyped up when they see him arriving. They think their main vocal is finally coming, so they instantly jump up excitedly to greet him. One is 17 years old, super young and full of energy, while the other is 23, a bit older but still sharp and focused. Both are members, and that makes our guy think they probably have dance positions, so their roles won't overlap much. He feels pretty positive about it and tells himself that at least they won't end up as victims of evil editing this time, which honestly feels like a relief. But then he thinks the real problem starts right after that. It's when Sejin also joins in out of nowhere, completely surprising him again. The other members, who were just excited a second ago, suddenly freeze as some weird tension fills the air. After Sejin, even more interesting guys start joining the team. Number 33, An-hyun, comes in with his gold badge and striking visuals that almost steal the spotlight. Then number 59, Chung-woo, the archery guy, joins too. He's full of energy and genuinely pumped to get along with everyone. He's the only other party number rank aside from our guy. Our guy thinks that the higher the rank, the better the synergy will be, and if they all end up working well together, then great. Everyone is trying to get along, even An-hyun, but our guy can't help feeling kind of awkward about everything happening so fast. As the spots start filling up, the lower-ranked contestants begin getting pushed out one after another. Even the silver ranks are getting replaced, which is kind of expected in this intense setup. Some dude looks at our guy with this mix of envy and frustration, thinking if only he had gotten a slightly better rank during the reevaluation. He blames it all on that jerk Moonde, who also stares right back at him with that same competitive glare. Our guy suddenly feels someone staring at him and starts wondering what that was about. The kid turns out to be Won-gil. At first, our guy thought he was a middle schooler because of his looks, but it turns out he's actually in high school. He's just like him and also does vocals, which makes the whole thing kind of funny. 1 week before the rank evaluations, the one shining on stage was Won-gil. Right up until our guy showed up, the ace of the quarter class. Won-gil feels totally frustrated that he now has to reach Moondae's level. On the day of the evaluation, he walks off stage with heavy steps and ends up being demoted to silver. Then suddenly, Sejin jumps in again, pushing Won-gil aside while awkwardly apologizing. He also accidentally shoves some bronze medal dude down in the process. Young tries to greet our guy in the middle of this chaos, but our guy is just too irritated, wondering why Sejin has to be here again. Sejin keeps saying that someone gave him advice that what really matters is the team, not the agency, while our guy is just totally pissed off inside. Now, all the contestants who have chosen their agencies are told to look at the monitors that previously showed the agency names. Something changes on the screen, and the first person to choose their group has to press a button. Our guy tries to figure out what's going on, completely confused yet curious. When the shuffle button gets pressed, the teams suddenly split into A and B. And surprisingly, they now have to do one-on-one matches against each other. Our guy can't believe it. He just stands there, trying to process that the teams were actually randomized like this, feeling both nervous and kind of excited at the same time. 2 of the minions get way too excited over the fact that they end up on the same team. They are also super hyped knowing that Moondae is with them, which basically means they've got a main vocal. That alone makes them feel like their team already hit the jackpot. Meanwhile, our guy is still standing there, trying to wrap his head around everything, kind of dazed but also trying to pull himself together. He keeps thinking that since he's number 12, he has to be careful and make sure his teammates take priority. The 2 chords are standing next to him, and he takes a slow look around at his entire team. Sejin suddenly jumps in, mentioning that their team looks pretty good, and honestly, everyone seems to agree. Monty can't believe that Sejin somehow landed number 62, which just feels kind of insane to him. All of the dudes are hyped about their lineup, acting like this is the dream team. Meanwhile, on the other side, Haeun stands quietly, looking calm and collected with his number 33 badge. Our guy slowly walks over to him, and the moment he does, he finally gets a bit of peace. It's quiet there, and it kind of feels relaxing. On the opposite team, Chunggu is already holding a meeting, talking to his team like a captain. Then our guy notices that the only number still missing is 37. That's Won Gil. And right across from him is Lee Sejin, number 15. He looks at the pair and can't believe it. It feels like an easy pass straight to hell. Their teammates are already giving off strange vibes like early signs of chaos, and he just knows deep down that they are screwed. He thinks at this rate they'll be evil edited so bad that they'll become the editor's bait for sure. That's when An suddenly calls out, offering Kai a water bottle, and then hesitantly mentions that he thinks their team members are actually good. Monty is totally speechless at that, just staring blankly. Meanwhile, An looks nervous, literally sweating buckets, but he's trying his best to stay positive. This makes our guy think that An is just the optimistic one, the kind of person who keeps smiling even when the ship's sinking. Next up, the dudes begin introducing themselves. Lee Sejin casually expresses that he really likes this team because he thinks there are a lot of good-looking people around. Everyone laughs a little and someone even compliments him, saying he's got good eyes for noticing that. He responds back that Lee Sejin himself also has good eyes, which just turns the atmosphere even lighter. Lee Sejin, trying to play it cool, says that he feels like they're really going to have a lot of fun together, and for a second, the team kind of believes that vibe. Meanwhile, our guy stays tense inside, wondering if the team will actually be okay. He admits their composition looks solid since most of them are gold ranked, and they got a nice mix of positions. He thinks that as long as they pick the right song, they'll be able to perform decently. But he's still a bit worried about the two silver-ranked guys. He knows if someone ruins the atmosphere, then it's over. They'll all go straight to hell together. He figures at least with Lee Sejin around, the team's mood might stay bright and manageable. Surprisingly, Bai Sejin also ends up on the same team, and Lee Sejin jokes that they should come up with a nickname to tell them apart. That kind of confuses our guy since he thinks it might just make things even more complicated. One of the guys suddenly starts giving everyone random nicknames for fun, and they all find it really funny. The atmosphere gets lighter for a bit, and even our guy starts thinking about it too. But then there's this weird silence that takes over while he's lost in his thoughts, totally confused about what's happening. Suddenly, the host's voice echoes, asking if everyone has familiarized themselves with their teammates, because it's now time to choose the songs. The monitor in front of them changes, and that same guy goes ahead to press the button for a randomized song. Everyone's hoping to land a good one. As the screen starts to shuffle, most of them quietly wish for the Tiger song since it's the most recent one and everyone who joined Lady probably came for that. Some others are hoping for VTIC, and our guy can almost feel their expectations just from their expressions. The shuffle keeps rolling, and after a moment, An Hyun shows up again, bringing water bottles for everyone. The team really appreciates him for that, though a few guys still look down, already feeling unlucky. Then someone starts wondering aloud if there's ever been a girl group song in this kind of mission before. Lee Sejin comments that it's his first time seeing it too, and even jokes that maybe it's an error. But then the result pops up. It's Wet, a girl group song. Everyone freezes. They start to realize they came all the way to Lady expecting VTIC, only to end up with this. Haeun looks completely down, muttering to himself, feeling like they're doomed. He can't believe people like them have to pull off a fairy concept. The entire team falls silent, just trying to process it. On the other side, our guy Moondae listens to the song quietly. He knows there's nothing they can do since the song is already locked in. He feels like the directors definitely tricked them this time, setting them up without warning. No one could have guessed they'd end up with Into the New World by Squeaky Sweet. That cute fairy-like concept. Into the New World is actually the debut song of Laddie's girl group, Squeaky Sweet. It is before they became popular through their unhinged, cute concept of pop cones. They have released a flower fairy-themed song trying to express a girl's innocence. But at the current moment, these guys doesn't seem like flower fairies at all. The girl mentions that for the song, they must sing pretty and clearly. She goes on to ask why they are like just singing in tune. She mentions there is simply no loveliness or dreaminess. She asks if they are that embarrassed to sing it. Our guy kind of agrees because honestly, she is right. Their team feels lost and kind of struggling at this point. He asks himself what exactly is their end goal for this performance. Then this guy comes up asking who about the choreography for this. Hashin mentions the team, the members who were a bit familiar with the dance. But Sejin mentions they all did it together. Still, none of them catches the eye of the judge, and he mentions it is bland. He even says it feels like some kind of random talent show or something. Their opponent Team B was already excited to do Sangung and has already memorized it, and he mentions this is a girl group choreography. So he asks if they should not be picking up their pace. But they're just a bunch of guys around high school, so things are not that easy. Our guy thinks with a troubled heart about how their bodies could even follow that. The judge notices that those guys have some kids who are below average. And our guy thinks that even he barely managed to memorize the choreography, so he thinks it makes sense that the trainers are uninterested. This is when he mentions he goes on to An Hyeon, who is sweating buckets. He notices that he majored in modern dance and asks why his expressiveness is worse than Moondae. Our guy can't believe this because An Hyeon was the one who taught them almost 80% of the choreography. And the trainer even remarks that Moondae is even better at singing. The instructor is fuming at An Hyeon and keeps pushing him, asking if he thinks people will continue to go easy on him when he debuts. He asks him if he wants to hear that he is worse at dancing than the kid who was chosen for singing. The instructor mentions that if he is going to keep at it like this, then he might as well just give up. The instructor tells them to think of another concept. He mentions whether they arrange the song or put an emphasis on the original. He tells them to come back once they have made a decision, and all of the minions comply to do so. Everyone just quietly accepts because they know he is serious. So this starts to make them wonder if they should have a meeting at our guy's place, thinking if they should slowly get started. Sejin mentions that based on the feedback they received, it tells them to start deciding the concept. He asks if everyone is satisfied with their assigned parts. He mentions that Mond is the main vocalist and Sejin is the main dancer. However, Won-gil mentions that the key doesn't really match him well. On this, Sejin asks if the other parts aren't too low. As Won-gil is a vocal, Sejin mentions that there is only Mund's part, but his lines are even higher than the Won-gil's one. Meanwhile, our guy thinks it will be easier if it is way higher. Meanwhile, Won-gil thinks it will be easier if it is way higher too. That small thing catches the attention of our guy. He starts thinking that this is why the group projects are unreliable, because things are completely going his way. And because things are completely going his way, Won-gil is actually trying to mess things up a little. Sejin goes on to ask our guy if he wants to switch with him. That thing surprises Sejin. Won-gil starts to tease up, kind of acting smug, mentioning that he should help him on the parts he is having trouble with. As our guy can't just give away his part like that, he gets irritated because it feels like this isn't the first time this has happened. He mentions it is alright if they switch as he thinks it is better to switch earlier only if he can't do his part. Our guy also decides that he will be taking the Sejin's part in the bridge. On this, Sejin gets surprised out, almost caught off guard. And on the other side, our guy mentions that Sejin said he could not do that part, so he decides he will take it since he can't do it. On this, Sejin gets really worried. And our guy mentions this is what he has been talking about when they were first learning the choreography. On this, Sejin asks if he knows how Squeaky Sweet is normally cheery and energetic. And he asks why don't they try and emphasize that by showing the dashing charm of an innocent yet powerful youth. Hyun also gets the idea, mentioning if it is kind of like that fan cam where he and Sunbae were in the rain. So they can keep a similar concept to Squeaky Sweet in their prime. Sejin also mentions they even have a Moondae who dances to the popcorn theme. Sejin asks if they don't think they will get a positive response on this. Meanwhile, this thing makes our guy think that he prepared for this. Sejin ignored the issue until he received their first round of feedback. So once his teammates become disheartened, they would listen to him without objections. This powerful youth concept is advantageous for the current main dancer, Lee Sejin. So Sejin must have realized that An Hyeon, our dance major, suited the original song's concept better. Our guy doesn't know if this is something innate or if Sejin is being intentionally calculative. At the day of the competition, in front of the T1 studio, the people are lining up to see the performance. There is this girl also in the crowd and she thinks this whole situation sucks. After her train for years drove under the influence, she got angry and came to see the talent show of some guys she doesn't even know the face of. She thinks her whole life is kind of a mess. She's actually here for some pictures to sell them if it makes money. Recently on the internet, 113 has actually become some kind of punching bag for anyone who gets bored. It's like whenever people have nothing to do, they just find something or someone to criticize online. Forums and the internet in general have always been like that anyway. Despite it being just the first performance and only the member profiles being released, this whole controversy still ends up being the weird kind of publicity. It's annoying, but at the same time, it works. So at the first team round of Idol ANC, the host mentions to the shareholders that the odds of getting into the audience for the pre-recording of this competition were an astonishing ratio of 27 out of 1. He is sure they are all wondering what the first competition is even about. The contestants will be performing their own versions of hit songs from Korea's representative agencies. After the performances, people will vote for their favorite team and contestants. The most popular contestant in each team will receive a great advantage. And with that, they are about to begin the very first team round of Idol NC. That girl in the crowd is just sitting there, honestly kind of impatient, wondering when they are gonna start the concert already. The first round of the competition finally begins and the teams start to bring out their performances with everything they have got. The girl in the crowd isn't expecting much anyway. But when she watches, she thinks with the level these kids are performing, it kind of feels like a waste of camera memory. She even wonders if that rumor about them choosing part-timers as contestants was actually true. The next performance comes from a trendy agency which is known for mastering sexiness. That's Traveler. That's when Yujin jumps onto the stage, and his presence is actually a bit more spectacular than expected. The girl in the crowd can't believe that the center of its me is Yujin, and she can't believe he is just a trainee despite how good he is. People start to think he is definitely the center for a reason, and he already has that aura like a phantom, even though this is just the first competition. Now that our guy thinks about it, this team also has another handsome guy, Rabin, the trainee from the same agency as Yujin. People really like their performance, and the host also reminds them that if they think it's amazing, they have to press the button now. The girl in the crowd thinks that if only they were vocalists, she could have gotten better photos. So she decides to at least take a lot of shots to sell later if they make money. Some of the people even start thinking that maybe after this round, there won't be much left worth watching anyway. The girl in the crowd starts to think if she should just head back since she feels like, besides Chungwoo, she's already seen most of the famous kids. The next performance comes up from VTIC, who recently won the grand prize. The contestants will be covering a song from their agency, which is Letty. The girl in the crowd wonders if there is no actual VTIC member appearing, but then she guesses it makes sense since VTIC is the top male group right now. She thinks back and wonders what her idol was even doing when VTIC hit 1.2 million sales in the first week, and remembers he was out drinking and smashing his foreign car. Next up, the host mentions the next contestants are the Flowers and Fairies of K-pop. Their debut song changed the love of the general public through their refreshing and youthful charm. The girl can't believe it. It's the song Into the New World from Squishy Sweet. Letty doesn't necessarily mean a verdict here. The host tells all of the people to enjoy their performance. The girl in the crowd starts thinking she should get ready while it's still dark so she can head back soon. She thinks she is just gonna take a few photos since they are busy talking anyway. But suddenly, something catches her attention out of nowhere. The whole atmosphere of the podium just completely shifts into something dark and cold. And she can't even tell since when they were already standing there. A synthesizer with a sober tune fills the entire stage. This is when our guy jumps in with his vocals. He quickly grabs attention with his deep and clear voice that cuts through the heavy atmosphere. The girl in the crowd stares, kind of stunned because he doesn't even look human. She starts wondering if he is that Hinong who majored in modern dance. She can't believe how a performance can be this lifeless yet still so haunting. She notices that it has been dark since earlier, and the whole arrangement feels chilling, as if it has been twisted from the original. The lyrics are definitely the same, but the mood is completely different. It almost feels like a scene straight out of a horror movie. She sits frozen, totally stunned by everything happening in front of her. She can't believe what she's watching. She can't wrap her head around whether these are performers or some kind of spirits. It feels like they are watching her from every direction. Her heart races as she realizes that what she thought were ghosts are actually just people on stage. This team's name is actually October 31st, that day when non-human entities are said to ascend to the land, also known as Halloween. The revelation hits the girl in the crowd hard and she feels a shiver run down her spine. She's kind of lost in her thoughts now, trying to process what she just saw. A bit before this, our guy had asked Hyung if he had a better idea for the concept, and he confirmed it. And honestly, she just saw it happen. How about some horror? And now the crowd gets it too. It's eerie, it's bold, and it's unforgettable. Hyung turns to the guys and asks what they think about a Hollywood-style horror concept. At first, they stare at him in surprise, but then their expressions shift, and they say excitedly that they love the idea. Kwan stands, pointing out that the choreography is similar to modern dance, which will make it look truly eerie when combined with horror elements. The guy beside him mutters that it's better than tackling something overly complicated, and the other nods, saying they can manage if they base the concept on a horror movie. Sejin watches the sudden shift in everyone's opinions, unsure whether to push for his own idea. After a moment, he decides to step back and admits he likes Moonday's concept too. Lily watches quietly amused as Sejin admits it feels a little embarrassing but undeniably effective, earning him praise as the leader they expected. Lily scans the room, seeing the group settling down smoothly, but his gaze lingers on the one person who still seems uncertain, wondering how to reach him. Later, as night falls, Seon sits alone when Mooney approaches and asks if he's tired. Seon startles at the voice but insists he is not. Lily recalls noticing his lack of focus during the lecture and gently asks if he dislikes the idea. C waves it off, shivering slightly, and as Lily moves to sit, he hurriedly apologizes, promising he'll do better. Lily blinks surprised and asks if his discomfort comes from being around him. Shifting the topic, Lily recalls what the trainer said earlier, emphasizing that Seon is on his own but undeniably talented, making sure there's no room for misunderstanding. The trainer had known this all along, which explained the harshness that had seemed uncalled for before. Seon hesitates, tension visible in his trembling posture, and Lily reassures him silently that he can do it. The certainty in Lily's gaze leaves Seon momentarily stunned, a flicker of confusion crossing his face before curiosity sparks in his eyes. His thoughts race, wondering how he should move, how he should perform, and Lily notices the overthinking but chooses to let it settle naturally. With a sigh, he reminds Sean to clear his mind and simply commit to tell himself he's going to do this. Even this simple advice feels monumental to Seon, and he quiets himself, promising to try. Suddenly, the system window buzzes with a notification. Lily glances at it and sees that Seon's ability draw has activated. The glow of the system confirms it. The improbable 35% chance has triggered, instantly neutralizing the status condition. Every element of Seon's performance, vocals, dancing, presence, swells in intensity, revealing the real Seon. Unburdened, spirited, and talented, a performer whose ability shines when freed from limitations. Lily tightens his grip on the mic, reflecting on the unfairness of chance, how some suffer while others benefit from randomness, but he forces himself to focus on the stage, the performance, the roar of the audience. The stadium erupts with cheers, and a girl in the audience, overwhelmed by the energy, feels a brief flush of flustered awe. The team's dominance is clear, and she knows this isn't the moment to panic, but to capture as much as possible, her camera trained on Seon alone. A sharp light suddenly strikes her eyes from the lens, and she freezes, realizing she had already adjusted the exposure to balance it perfectly. For a heartbeat, the world seems to hold its breath, the lens gaze almost alive, brushing against her awareness with an intangible presence that makes the hair on her arms prickle. The performance continues, and all the camera woman sees is him singing the song. She becomes so flustered that she forgets the reason she came over in the first place. In just a few seconds, a clear, piercing high note slices through the air, freezing her attention. The sudden realization hits her. She hadn't noticed the bloodstains on his clothes in the dark, and now she understands that they are vampires. Strangely, with that realization, her fear dissolves. Perhaps it's the atmosphere of the psalm or the way the idol on stage has shed the blank expression that had previously haunted him, leaving only raw, genuine emotion. The sadness that once lingered has transformed, and everyone is swept away by it. The audience shivers, stunned, before erupting into cheers declaring them number one, the stadium vibrating with applause. The camera woman is so captivated that she forgets to take pictures entirely during the second half, especially when the main vocalist hits the high notes that make the crowd roar. She knows she will never forget this moment. The performer's talent is undeniable. Many main vocalists debut without even coming close to his level. His face is charming in a modern, trendy way, perfectly suited to the concept, and his presence is magnetic. She feels herself completely undone, captivated, and at the point of no return, utterly consumed by the performance.